21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
So have you ever asked yourself why people aren't buying from you? Most of the reason is because they don't know you, they don't like you, and they don't trust you. So I teach people how to become deadly at sales by mastering word of mouth so that you get people introduced to you that know, like, and trust you and are 90% of the way there in order to do business. I'm Joe Blackburn, and I'm the founder of The Lion. And this is my fourth business that I've built with word of mouth. I have no social media, no ads as of yet. And I was a corporate executive. I ran a $120 million business with $17 billion in assets. And 5 years ago, I took a leap into entrepreneurship and am now running masterminds and helping people learn how to use word of mouth to build their business. The most common thing I've seen with business owners is they think that systems and processes are going to save them, and we're all in the people business. And in order to grow your business, you're going to have to get people to know, like, and trust you and actually want to do business with you. So we've put together a process. You could call it a people system, and it's called Pillars. So it's getting your ideal client to pay you, to introduce you, to like you, to listen to you. And if you do a great job over a period of time, give you unsolicited referrals. And notice there's no way in there, because I don't deal with assholes and you shouldn't either. So it's really a way to progress through the different connections you have in your life to build your business. Where most people start is they go to people they know and say, who do you know? And that's giving someone work, and nobody wants to work. So what I teach is actually getting introductions. And the best place to start is by making some form of announcement. When I left corporate America 5 years ago, I just let everyone know what I was doing, who I was serving, and how passionate I was about that. And you can really only get 3 reactions to that. And that's, most people say, that's great. I always thought you'd do something like that. Some people say, I know someone who needs what you're doing. But some people say, that's me. And that's a great way to get going, because all 3 of those are really good reactions. Even the people that are nicing you and just saying, that's great, you've planted a seed in their mind. So once you've done that, you can then do what I call a pivot if they give you the opportunity. If they have a concern about their business, about their wealth, about their family, those are the things that we work with. You can say, that's something I can help you with. Would you like to talk about it? Would you like to have a cup of coffee? Would you like to, grab a drink? Whatever it is, then you're just having a conversation, because especially in my business, you can't sell it. So there's no big closing script or magic formula or something that you're going to say, some incantation that's going to get someone to say yes. It's got to be a fit. So it's talking to people about what's really important to them and why they're concerned about something and what the change or transformation they're seeking will provide to them, and then offering the solution. And they either decide to do it or they don't. I teach something called law of inadvertent sales, and it's essentially, the less I try to sell you something, the more you'll actually want it if what I do is something you really need. So we don't have we're not salesy or cheesy or pushy. And I know that's a concern for a lot of people in business is, they really want to try to close, so to speak. And if you're at the close, it's because you haven't done a great job on yourself, which is the product, or your marketing, which should get you almost 90% to the close. And if you're overcoming a bunch of objections and things like that, it's because those things weren't in place. So we really focus on developing you, because that's what people buy. They buy you, the person. One of the things that we all suffer from, especially in the Western world for sure, is there's a level of complacency, because we're not starving to death, and we're pretty well fed, and things are going pretty well for most of us. And what I find, especially as you get business owners or sales people or people that have been around a little bit, it's pretty easy, but there's a huge gap to their potential. And one of the, you hear this as people age, one of their regrets, sometimes it's not spending time with their family, but mostly it's, I didn't take the chance I should have taken. I had not, I could have stayed where I was at easily. I gave up everything. I gave up all of my income, all of my benefits, all of my security, all of my deferred stock, everything you could possibly want, I walked away from. And by the way, I have 5 little kids and my wife had breast cancer at the time. So what I realized when evaluating risk and how I wanted to spend my time, I could have stayed there and suffered through the red tape and bureaucracy. But I took a leap of faith because there was something I really wanted to do. And what I found by doing that, once you actually take that leap, all kinds of opportunities present themselves. And it's not easy by any means. And there are moments where, all of you that are entrepreneurs out there, I'm sure your gut aches, your head aches, and you're not sleeping, and all the, trite things you hear about owning a business, they're trite because they're true. But if you can take that first leap of faith and then take the next step, and really what starts happening is your mindset has to get really right. And if it doesn't, that internal litigator will start fighting you. They'll start talking you into doing less, to seeking safety, to doing the things that it's a survival mechanism. So you've got to work on setting concrete goals with deadlines. You've got to work on, as silly as it sounds, affirmations to train your subconscious mind. There are things you have to do to expand your capabilities that are mostly mental. 80% of your success is going to be psychological. So that's where I start with most people. And of course, most people just want to go out and close some business, make some money, right? Well, that's temporary. That's a quick dose. You've got to, while you're learning skill sets and evolving what you're doing around building business or sales or whatever it is you're after, you have to change mentally as well. If you don't, it'll be temporary. It's like going on a crash diet. I can lose 10 pounds in a month. Odds are I'm coming back at 15 though, because you will go so far beyond and then binge to get back to normal. So a lot of that begins with your mindset. And that's essentially, regardless if you're in our line mastermind or you're in our sales assassins, we start with mindset. And it's also the most neglected place because it's easiest to just not do, because it doesn't have an immediate tangible benefit. It takes time, it takes discipline. You don't see it, it's not immediate gratification. So a lot of people just pike that. It's kind of like supplements. I probably should be taking vitamins and minerals. I don't, because I don't take the time to, whatever it is, 20 seconds to put them in my hand and drink them down. But if I were, I'd be a lot more healthy. And my long-term health, my longevity would be much greater. So that's the same thing with mindset. And unfortunately, for all of us as humans, we don't store up things like courage. So just because you took that leap of faith yesterday, it doesn't mean you're doing it today. Or just because you made that outbound call or reached out to that person yesterday doesn't mean you're going to do it today. It's like vitamin C. We don't store it up. Now, it does get a little easier to do, but you still have to muster up some courage on a daily basis to do the things that it's going to take to be real successful. And again, that goes back to complacency. So most people just don't. Most people just don't take that leap of faith. And if you do take the leap, and almost all the people that we work with are doing something different than they ever thought they would do, you're not going to find yourself without a safety net. As long as you don't quit and you get the right strategy, and especially get around a group of other people trying to do what you're trying to do. In the Lion, everybody is really trying to max out their business. They're really trying to multiply their wealth, and they don't want to blow their family up in the process. So having a group of people around you that are doing the same thing, essentially, maybe in different industries, but they're getting out of their comfort zones, they're pushing themselves beyond the norm, but they're surrounded by other people taking that same leap. So there's more power there. Even in the mastermind itself, there's a super conscious, meaning if we're all trying to go the same way at the same time with the same objectives, there becomes a greater conscious than ourselves. But if you don't take the leap of faith, and you just stay where you are, you'll probably be okay. And if you're okay being okay, I guess that's okay. I personally, I just couldn't take it anymore. So I just realized it was risky where I was. It was risky to do this. You might as well go try and do what you really want to do. One of the things we'll ask is, if you had no fear, what would you do? And what's mind-boggling is almost everyone who answers that question is not what they're doing now. There's some form of fear taking a hold of them or keeping them where they are. And it's funny, all you have to do is make the decision to do it and go. And I'd also recommend burning the boats. So you can't swim back out to them. But that type of faith, and that's especially in our Lion Mastermind, that's where everyone is they are pushing each other and themselves to go farther in something that they never thought they could do. The one thing I found as being an entrepreneur is it has given me some more time with my family. It also gives me so much more fulfillment when I see other people succeed and I see them being my whether it's my mom and dad, my sisters, my kids, my wife, when they see what we've done, when they see the risk that was taken and now the work ethic and all the things it takes to be successful, that's what I love. I mean, it's one of those things where, you don't have to say much for your family to know what's happening. And by the way, there are moments when they know what's happening because I'm irritated. It's not always, rainbows and back rubs over here. But I'm hoping that my kids realize what it takes and what it's going to take. And it's going to just keep getting harder. There's all kinds of threats to business out there that didn't exist 10 years ago. Traditional education isn't going to be what it is 5 years from now. The competitive landscape just keeps getting, faster, more leveraged, and certain levels of expertise are going to be required. And so I spend a lot of time with them. I spend a lot of time learning and growing. I really focus on trying to help people figure out what it is that they really want, getting crystal clear on that, and then going after it. Well, that applies to my family too. That we've got our, just like every other family, we've got our challenges. Fortunately, my wife and I just celebrated our 20th wedding anniversary, so we've been together 20 years. We've got 5 great kids. We've got a daughter that's got cerebral palsy, and it's sometimes you go to a children's hospital like we were just at, you see people that really are, not able to do things. And it gives you perspective. It gives them perspective. We take the other kids there on how fortunate we are, how much work it takes, what life is like. I mean, it's where we spend, we're always having fun, but we're also talking about the world. I mean, I'm not one of those parents that, is so against social media or technology or anything, but I want them to learn how to use the new tools of the new age. It's probably all they're ever going to know. And we try to keep them grounded with faith. Fortunately, my wife saved my life 20 years ago. I mean, the over under on me hitting 30 was everybody had the under. And we've been pretty involved in our church ever since. And our kids have grown up in the church. And that's, I talk a lot about faith because I've exercised a lot of faith. And there's just moments where, it could have went the other way and it didn't. And then there's been some tough times. We've battled cancer, we've battled disease. I mean, that's, you get both sides, but it's really one of those things that we focus on, we take time, we're intentional around it. And, I'm not pious. I don't put myself out there as perfect because I'm probably the worst. It's just going back to it, getting centered on it and really focusing on, what's the right thing to do, even when it's the hard thing to do. And, really, we were all given an amount of ability and trying to max it out. And that's for all of them. Like really trying to focus on, are you doing the most with what you got, what you were given? And that's where, a lot of our discussion and family time is. one of the things that started really popping out to me or catching my attention, especially in our mastermind, The Lion, was a lot of our owners have a sales force, and they're a little younger and different generation than I am. And, I saw this when I was in corporate America as well. We did 120 million in sales. So I saw a lot of salespeople. One of the things I'm noticing is it's a lost art. That word of mouth is not something that's natural any longer. And, there's all kinds of things you can do online, and we're delving into that. That's how we're going to scale, is by doing more social media and more ads and all those different mechanisms. But we crossed 7 figures without all that. And that's a really good basis. So I started taking our members, best people, and I put them in one of our schools, and really, for the last year, I've been teaching them the word of mouth. They're getting phenomenal results. We measure everything. We have wins every Wednesday. They've got great community. We got a full classroom. We have all the things that a person that's really trying to get into that mid 6 figures, maybe even cross 7 figures as a sales, professional would need. And, I was talking with my team, and we made a decision that we're going to try and extrapolate that and teach a lot of people that, because it's a gap. You're not getting that taught to you in school for sure. I'm not even sure what they do there, but we're really going to try to focus on, and we've made it our mission to teach the art of word of mouth marketing. I think there's a whole, gap or there's a whole generation even that just doesn't grasp it and the power of it. There's a flywheel to that. You start getting a lot of ideal key clients. They're, centers of influence and influencers and the bigger hitters in your community. You can get that going. It creates a lot of momentum and a lot of word of mouth. You can do it with sweat equity. Doesn't take a lot of money. You're not paying for ads. You may have to buy a coffee or a drink here and there, but it really can be done. You can build a solid business with the people that you really like. It just takes a lot of work, and it's an art form more than anything. If it was a formula, I'd give it to you. It's knowing when to talk business, when not to, when to give, when to receive. I mean, there's an art to it, and it takes a lot of reps. And, it's something that we've essentially taken the people aspect of it and put it into a progression so that you are always in front of qualified people, working hard. And, the law of reciprocity is a powerful thing. And it's really harnessing that and building your brand and working on yourself. And we're going to teach that at scale. So that's really the next iteration. The original, when I really came out of one-on-one coaching a couple of years ago, and that's great. I mean, I love one-on-one. I still do some of it a little bit, and went into the mastermind. That's the gap we saw. Was like, okay, the owner was there, dialed in, the business is humming, their family's really excelling, their wealth, we're looking at different opportunities, whether it's acquisition, real estate, buying another, recruiting another, whatever it is. But the gap was really their sales force. They weren't dying, but they weren't excelling. And it's because they hadn't really transferred that ability that they had as the owner. And we've put it so it's basically done for you. And we'll teach that. And, like today, in an hour, I have the weekly call. So I'll have everybody on in a large Zoom format. It's mastermind format, hot seat and or spotlight. We do a little teaching. They've got full classroom. And that's our mission. I would like for every person who touches sales to know assassins. And notice it's not warriors. Warriors come right at you. Assassins are deadly because you don't see them coming. So it's not pushy, it's not salesy, it's not cheesy. And that's our mission.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskorik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.